Welcome back to the Coach's Corner on your Homes Begin Here network. I'm Devin Dubuc.
And I'm Coach Rick Koenig.
And as always, we are sponsored by Premier Lending. Hey there, guys and gals. As you know, Coach and I like to bring the heat on what's going on in the market, what's happening out there, and how to create successful patterns in your business. So, Coach, I know we were talking in the green room earlier today, and there's a common topic that's been coming up amongst a lot of the recruiting folks that you've been talking to. What's happening out there?
You know, a lot of the people are wanting to know how to utilize CRMs, and it seems like a lot of people out there are working for companies that have a CRM, but it's not the best CRM. So they're looking at outside sources, they're looking at different organizations, different companies. And they're being forced right now to kind of build their own CRM or learn how to utilize their own CRM, maybe with another group of people who have not the best thing that they should be utilizing their time on right now, right? I mean, this is not the time to be spending hours and days every week working on a CRM. So one of the things that I know you're an expert at is our CRMs. And I've been fortunate when we were coaching to see you in one CRM, and then I watched you actually switch to another, and how that affected the whole team that was utilizing the CRM.
It's unbelievable. Well, let's talk about that a little bit because, you're right on the money. You talk to a lot of folks that are out there kind of looking for answers. I do as well. I've got folks that pop on the calendar and just say, hey, how do I improve myself? And one of the commonalities that I'm hearing too is, hey, I've got a CRM, but I don't know what to do with it. And so I got an Excel spreadsheet and I'm using that, or I just use the phone. And hey, if you're making the calls, that's the number one thing that you got to do, right? You got to reach out to folks. But, at the same time, I was on a call earlier today. This is, by the way, March 13th is when we're recording. And just a couple of days ago, the big announcement from Rocket purchasing Redfin. And, what they were talking about is, why would Rocket do something like that? Well, data mining. Right? Redfin has all the data. They know when people are out there looking at properties. They know when people are getting warmer on their purchasing patterns, right? How many times they come to the site, how many properties they're researching. Oh, this person is probably interested in doing something, right? Yep. And so as a result of that, why would Rocket pay all those billions of dollars to pick them up? That's why, right? Because they're data mining. And another thing that we know, Coach, is that, the big players out there, the Mr. Coopers of the world and the Rocket Mortgages, right? Even the UWMs have stepped up recently and said, hey, the reason that we're buying all these servicing portfolios is because we're going to keep these customers in our court. And guess what? I'm pretty sure there's some technology that's driving behind that, right? So why a CRM? Well, a CRM is going to help you stay top of mind with your customers. And we're not talking about canned campaigns, that are coming out that are not from you or from the heart, right? We're talking about campaigns that A, remind you, hey, pick up the phone and reach out to these people, right? But B, they do have great content, and it's content from the heart. And, if you learn how to use these things and you understand how you can do things like broadcasting, where you're actually reaching out to an isolated group of customers that you know, like, and trust, and know, like, and trust you, you could have personalized messaging. You can have video messaging, right? And, how much easier is it to touch 500 people within an hour, right? You can't do that with just your mobile phone. It's just not possible, right? But what you can do is you can drop a campaign that's personalized to a group of people that it matches, and it's you. You could even do it in a video format and invite them to reach back out to you if they have questions or need any assistance. And guess what? All of a sudden, you get people that pop right on your calendar or start pinging you back through text messages, and you can do that very quickly with the CRM system. So,
And these realtors right now, they are getting calls, but still not getting as many calls as you think they are. Now, if you take the typical Bay Equity person who's part of Redfin, I happened to call a friend of mine, and he just started laughing, and he goes, "You're the first recruiter I've answered a phone call for." And I said, "That's because I'm not calling to recruit you. You'll call me when you're ready." And he goes, "I will. You'll be one of the guys." And I said, "How bad's it been?" He goes, "You know how bad it is when you pull somebody's credit and they get 100 phone calls?" He says, "Listen to this. I've been keeping track." And this young man This is a guy in his 30s doing some great business out in the West Coast. This dude got hit with communications of over 200. We're talking text messages, phone calls, and emails. The
Mm.
realtors aren't getting that. So, what you need to learn how to do is utilize a system or get in a system like our system at Premier Lending, because you were just telling me in the green room, I like when we use that term, in the green room, about somebody on our own team who initiated a blast, and not
Yeah.
a big one, 25, and didn't even do the follow-up phone calls, and he got his first appointment set with a realtor without doing anything.
Let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we've got some newer folks that are joining the team that haven't used in CRM in the past, or we've got some veteran guys that are old school, right? Like, and hey, and old is cool, right? Old is cool. That just haven't embraced the CRM because technology is not their thing, and I get that, right? They prefer the phone and face to face interaction, and they should. But when they can lean into that and have that opportunity for more conversations, it just gives them more face to face or phone to phone time. And that's really what it's all about. So I'll talk about two people specifically. We're not going to name any names. We don't want to shame anybody, but the first one, newer to the industry, and effectively, we put together a list of, I think, 300 agents that we're going to outreach to. And the intent is to make phone calls and use the campaigns. In this particular situation, we dropped 25 out of those 300 into a week one campaign. And he was supposed to call the 25 people, and then a day or two later, an email would go out, just basically talking about how really interested that person was in getting to know the agent, and it's super impressed by what they're doing. And then it had a link for the calendar. Hey, you can jump right on my calendar and pick a time that works best for you. Well, lo and behold, what he doesn't do is make the 25 phone calls. However, the campaign, it didn't forget. It still sent out the email, and agent responds. You know what? I would love to meet with you. And what do you know if that agent hadn't closed 32 buy side transactions over the last 12 months, right? So, you talk about getting, a little nervous on the phones to reach out to these agents that are doing significant things in the industry. And here's an agent that's closing 32. Last time I looked, that's above average for an agent. And, they reached back out to him just based off of a campaign, didn't even pick up the phone and call. So, that's just the first 25, right? What happens when we launch the other 275 people in that campaign, right? And, we had a conversation today. Guess what? He made some phone calls this morning, booked another appointment. So, at the end of the day, the campaign preceded himself, and it wasn't a warm call anymore, or a cold call anymore. It was warm because they'd already got his email. So when he followed up with a phone call, they're like, "Oh, I know who you are, Jack. I saw you," right? So that's how you use a CRM. The other one, this is definitely an old school guy, been in the industry for 36 years, right? So he's no spring chicken. But at the end of the day, he has a great database of people who know, love, and respect him, but he wasn't doing a great job of staying in front of everybody. So we took just 50 names. 50, that's it. And in his case, we did a little more personalized campaign, right? Hey, this is me. I've got a new team phone number. I wanted to make sure that you had this so that, if you see something come up from here, you know it's me, right? And my number is still this, right? For the guy that's afraid to use the CRM, hey, it's still this. So if you prefer to contact me here, that's totally cool. And we did that in both text and we did it in an email to confirm, hey, by the way, this is me, right? Here's my email. Here's my phone number. Call me if you don't believe it's me. He actually did have one person that reached out to him on his cell phone because they wanted to make sure, hey, is this you? Right? Yeah, it is. But what did it do? It spurred up conversations that he was not having.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he has more opportunities to do business, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're talking about, Coach.
Well, and what's cool about it is, so many of these people that are out there are not great at technology. The ones that are
Mm.
good at technology don't necessarily have the time to be messing with it. And when you take the technology and institute it at a level that you have with our team, you force some accountability. Like the person that did the mailing or the text but didn't make the calls still got an appointment, and yet getting an appointment kicked him in the butt a little bit to say, hey, I better start making some of those calls. I'm going to meet more people if I do it. So, part of our system is just like any coaching system is we want to help you hold yourself accountable. Nobody can make a 20 to 70-year-old person do anything they don't want to do. But when you're being held accountable and you're actually seeing results before you actually committed 100%, that's a real incentive to work with a team, and that's been the greatest thing about us, bringing you over here, was how you've held and helped our people hold each other and themselves accountable
Yeah.
to doing the daily tasks that you got to do to become successful in today's industry.
Well, you start to want to do it, right? It's like, oh man, you know what, man, I wanted to fight the system, but the proof is in the pudding, right? It's working, and I see my brothers and sisters embracing this and actually having results, and that's really what it boils down to, right? Because ultimately, what's the best CRM? The one you'll use, right? But at the end of the day, is it working for you? And if it's not, then you need to either align yourself with a team, preferably ours, right?
Yeah.
You need to hire somebody to build it out for you, and you need to make sure that you're embracing it, because it's going to produce more activity. And we're not saying hide behind the computer. We don't want that, right? In fact, if you've been listening to our program, you already know, it's really important. We're always pro get out there and meet people face to face. We are pro, do the phone activity to set those appointments. But at the same time, if you're doing that and you have a CRM that's complimenting you behind the scenes, you can be not in 2 places at once. You can be in 500 places at once. And that's what it's all about, because what we know, Coach, is offers minus no's equals
Cha-ching.
money.
Money.
Money. The person that's making the most offers is always going to win, right? And the person that's using the CRM is going to be able to make more offers. And, that's really where it comes down to. I'm going to talk something else, since you did mention me, coming over here and having a previous, place to hang my hat, right? And since we're talking about hats, by the way, I'm wearing a pink hat today and a pink shirt because we have a shout out to my boy Dom. Dom Arias had his baby girl last night, and we're celebrating the birth of his baby girl today. So Dom Arias, brother, super proud of you and your wife, and you're going to have so many blessed years to come. That baby girl is just in such a great place to have such a great father like you. So there's a little shout out to my boy Dom Arias. But going back to my previous business, I built out that second CRM. Well, why did I switch? Coach, we had a great CRM. It did a lot of great things. The problem is that it didn't have the functionality to do the ringless voicemail drops. It couldn't do the mass broadcasting, where the loan officer had control of that. I could control it, but they couldn't control it, right? The text capabilities was limited. Team communication was limited. So, it was time to freshen up the CRM. And, this is, I think, where things get really, really serious, right? So one thing we know is when we get leads from time to time, some LOs, not all, don't follow up, right? They just have bad habits and they don't do a great job. Maybe they call them once, but they don't always do a great job of calling twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. But guess what? Again, your CRM doesn't know that bad habit. It's going to do what it's told to do, right? So to give you an example, just like we have this podcast, we've also got other ones that are directed towards, the consumers. We have clients that come to our website from time to time. They come to our and apply because they want to work with our team, right? And so I remember this one specific situation. I just set up the CRM, and from our website, we've got a quick intake form that pushes the client right into the system. And guess what it does? The moment it clicks in, hey, this is Rick with Premier Lending. When's a good time to talk? Customer responds right now. Guess what? Loan officer didn't respond.
Oh,
2 minutes later, an email comes out. Hey, this is Rick. Maybe it'd be easier for you just to jump right on my calendar. Guess what the client does?
I'm not
Schedules
sure.
their own appointment.
Oh, they scheduled their own appointment. Good. I'm glad because they didn't miss out
So,
on it.
so we have a meeting later, I think the next day, and loan officer who shall not be named pipes up and he's like, hey, I got a calendar appointment for somebody I've never met before. Do you know what this is all about? Yeah, check your CRM. And I checked it live because, again, not to shame him here, but I'm definitely going to shame him in front of the rest of the team. I'm joking. I wanted to look it up and see what had happened there. I said, oh, look here. It texted and it said this, and you didn't respond. It sent this email, and they booked from your email. And guess what? Opportunity, application, closed loan. and he didn't do any work, right? So now imagine you take an originator who does the work and you give them those same tools,
Yep.
right? How much more production do they have?
Yeah, and with the right tools and the right help, learning how to utilize them, being held accountable to use it.
Yeah.
You said it earlier, whoever makes the most calls wins. And you can't win if you're not talking to the people, because that's when you're gonna ask those questions. That's when you're gonna find out about them, whether it's a realtor or whether it's an actual client. When you are able to ask questions and you can find out whether things that they're doing are working out well, they're not working out. You can find out, what should they be doing, or asking them what do they think they should be doing. Let them tell you. Don't always be telling them. Let them talk themselves out so that you have a complete game plan on how you can help them, because when they get done, whether it's you asking them questions to just keep going deeper, or they bring the questions up themselves or ask the questions themselves, you put yourself in a position to become the product expert, or
That's
the
it.
realtor expert, to help them grow, and you can become a realtor, whisperer.
The realtor whisper. Well, we're just talking about the real estate aspect of it. At the end of the day, we've got past customer database campaigns, we've got future campaigns, credit repair campaigns, that are coming from you. And it's not coming across as, oh, check out this new program. It's, hey, just wanted to reach out, see how the credit repair challenge is coming along, right?
Right.
Anything I can do to help? Question mark, right? It's very natural conversations. And then there's some pieces in there. Hey, some things you might want to be thinking about while you're along your journey, right? So it's a combination of both, so that some of it feels like it's, hey, just a programmed email, and the others feel like this is coming directly from Rick, and he's just checking in on me. What a nice guy, right? The other thing I want to put out there is, messaging for pipelines, right? So effectively, once you get that lead application, what happens when it goes to the processor? What happens when it goes to, underwriting? What happens when it gets approved with conditions, right? We have messaging sequences here that go out at all those stages, every single milestone, and they don't just go to the borrower, they don't just go to the co-borrower, they go to the buy side agent, the list side agent, and the title company reps, because again, we want everybody to be informed, right? And they're fun emails. Hey, congratulations! You might have a picture of somebody dancing and celebrating. We've got the approval. They were almost home, right? Or with the agents, there may be some subliminal messaging in there. Hey, we're off to a great partnership, right? Hey, this is going to be, amazing things are happening. I love working with you and your team, right? So what's happening here is, in the background, the messaging is actually helping you build relationships, even with the listing agent who you might not know, right? And that's the power of having a great CRM.
Yep.
And, not just thinking about it for, the front of the house, but the back of the house, all the way through the funded loan. What's that experience like? And when you dial those things in, you literally have this system that's always working on your behalf, right?
Yeah, and when you have those tools, you have people that know how to use them, that are going to hold you accountable. They'll do a lot of stuff, just like our loan officer that got the appointments, both loan officers that got appointments without actually doing anything. Once they pick that phone up and they virtually talk to them, whether it's via video like we're doing, or whether it's just on the phone, all of a sudden that relationship, even if it's an old relationship, starts becoming emotional, because now you're talking to each other, you're hearing each other, you're thinking
Yeah.
about stuff, and you took it from a piece of paper or a video to an actual conversation, and an emotional relationship becomes a much deeper relationship with people,
That's it.
whether it's a client or a real estate agent. And we
Yeah.
just help you do that by putting the right tools in front of you, automating as much of it as we can, so
Mhm.
that we help you be successful, even if you kick it, down the street. You kick that can and forget to take care of
That's
the
it.
people.
Well, and automations that sound like you, right? Not like AI, not like a robot. These are automations that sound like something that you wrote, right? At the end of the day, and all it's doing is you got to fill in the blanks, right? I mean, we've heard about these systems that'll continue to have the conversation. We're not doing that because we want for you to have meaningful conversations. We want to have meaningful conversations with our agents, but at the same time, we want to make sure that if you do get tied up, working on something and don't have the time to reach out to everybody, the system's going to do that for you. And then that's going to give you time once you get back in there to see, oh, great, the agent responded. Cool. Let's have a conversation, pick up the phone and reach out to them. So it's a crutch because it's working for you as an assistant, right? At the end of the day, you may not be able to afford that additional, pre-approval specialist or loan officer assistant. Well, the CRM does that for you. So, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you just have questions, right? Like, what does that look like? Or, what's the right CRM? Or, what would it look like to join a team that's going to provide the tools and give you the materials to have success in your business without you having to do it yourself? We'd love to hear from you. And, as always, just, click below, comment. You can always jump right on my calendar or Coach Rick's calendar, right from the scheduling link. And, hey, if you're loving this comment, ask other people to join and watch this, right? Push this out to, your 5 closest loan officer friends that need to hear what we're talking about here because, we want to empower people, with success patterns that are going to help them really grow their business, right? That's what it's all about. And that's why we started the Coaches Quarter here. We appreciate you dropping in as always. And we're going to keep bringing stuff back to you every single week. So take what you love. And if you want to join a team that's going to provide that, we'd love to have you. So I think until the next one, Coach, I'm Devin Dubuc.
And I'm Coach Rick Koenig.
We're the Coaches Corner, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a great one.
Thanks.